Now, I think it's about time to start a new adventure, and I've decided to start exploring the Paul Bocuse book, the Complete Bocuse, because I like his style, I like his recipe and the simplicity of it all. So if it's something that sounds interesting to you, make sure you hit the like button, you subscribe to the channel, and you hit that bell button as well. That's gonna really tell you when we're dropping here new videos, and it's gonna be a whole Paul Bocuse focus for the coming weeks on the channel, starting with his special chicken and vinegar. This is not the convoluted version that I've already shared with cream and stock and stuff. This is the uber simple shallot, butter, red wine vinegar chicken, and that's it. Cooked in a beautiful copper saute pan. I think it's gonna be something. Let's go. Now, if you don't know Paul Bocuse too much, or you've never tried one of his recipes, let me bring you up to speed on a few things and how is it to cook in the style of Paul Bocuse. The first thing you need to know is that Paul Bocuse was someone that absolutely believed and loved the terroir. So he loved the nature, the lakes, the soil, homegrown vegetables, go to farms to buy his meats and all the markets and things like that. So it's really the things that are really homegrown. He was not a believer of all this processed food and shortcuts. He liked to make everything from scratch. That said, his recipes are interesting because he really relies on top quality ingredients in small numbers. But when he's making this recipe, he's using the poulet de Bresse, one of the best chicken in France. He's gonna have his homegrown shallots. The red wine vinegar here for that recipe, by the way, has to be an aged red wine vinegar, typically aged in oak barrel, and you don't want to try anything else. Don't take a white vinegar, don't take an apple cider vinegar. You need an aged red wine vinegar. No, it's not gonna taste good. And of course, a good quality, French style butter. These are the elements you're gonna need, and it's gonna really bring the flavors together. Now, what we're gonna see here is a process. And how does he manage to take these small ingredients and really bring it to a whole new level? So let's begin the recipe. We're using a saute pan. I'm using a copper pan, medium heat. And the first thing we're going to do is melt the butter. And there is plenty of butter because this is Paul Bocuse style. So how butter? Start to chant. Can you hear this? I always say that, the chanting. And we don't want to brown the butter on here at all. Okay, so we're going to place the chicken in straight off. And we're going to lightly color the chicken, because this is another thing that you need to know about Paul Bocuse. He was not a believer of searing chicken at all. He liked the slow temperature, low cooking, lightly color, to really allow the meat to develop its flavor and stay tender. So at first sight, it looks like a lot of butter, and it is, but in fact the technique behind that is that Paul Bocuse liked to poach things instead of searing. So he is using butter to really almost poach the chicken in butter rather than using water. So lots and lots of butter. It's a bit like the Escoffier style of cooking, and a very, very light coloring in there. Okay, so you can see it's bubbling away, but you don't want to burn the butter at all. Now, if the heat starts to be too high, you reduce a little bit, and we want a really light blonde coloring. So after 5 minutes, we should have a light coloring. We're gonna have a look at that. And you see under there, you see there's a very, very light coloring, and we're going to turn the things over. Up, another 5 minutes, let's go. After 10 minutes, we're done. I'm going to turn the heat off. So as you can see, there's a very light coloration. It is very specifically mentioned, just a light coloration. It is not the intention to have these big brown colors at all. I'm going to add, this is my personal touch, because I like to always have a few pieces of thyme and a bay leaf. And the rest of the cooking is going to happen in the oven. Now for the oven, we're not using fan forced, we're using here conventional heat, and as per the book it says 210 degrees Celsius. I put the equivalent Fahrenheit. So I'm going to put this with a lid on, and we're going to cook this for 20 minutes. Now anytime you do something like this and the chicken is cooking, use that spare time to prepare your mise en place for the next step. So here the next step is going to be the sauce. So when the chicken is ready, we're going to have to reserve it and keep it warm. So I've got a tray, a bit of foil. And this is the ingredients we're going to need for the sauce. More butter, the shallots, and the vinegar. You see, there's plenty. And there's 250 milliliters in there. Almost 1 cup of red wine vinegar. So I've got everything ready, and now I can just wait for the chicken to be cooked. My chicken is just out of the oven, and it is not at all what I expected that it was going to look like. It's very interesting. I thought it would have kind of reduced and stuff, but with the steam and everything, the chicken is there. It's pretty very simple, and we've got all the butter and that juice in here. So we're going to be making the sauce. I'm going to take the meat out, reserve it in the tray, cover it with a bit of sauce, and keep it warm in the oven. And then we're going to start the sauce. Here, let's go. So the chicken is here, always a little bit of sauce to avoid that it dries, and it's going to keep on, cooking slightly. I've got my oven that's turned off, I've got the door open, and I'm going to use the residual heat to keep this warm while I make the sauce. Alright, so look at this. Challenge ahead. Can we transform this into an amazing tangy vinegar sauce? That is the question. So the first thing I'm going to do here is turn my heat to high. Because the chicken that Paul Bocuse we use a breast chicken, which is excellent. It would have not much water, but mine was more of a mainstream chicken. I think it's rendered a little bit of water. So what I'm going to do first is get rid of all that excess water to be left just with the butter, and then we're going to cook the shallots in that chicken butter. Now while this is happening, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to have a try at this, just to see what we start with. Ah, okay. Nothing to complain here. That is tasty. It's buttery, a really intense taste of chicken. A good start. Perfect. So now it starts to get a bit syrupy. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to temporarily get rid of those so we see what we're doing. Okay. And you can see it doesn't look like water too much anymore. It starts to be just the butter. So what we're going to do here, immediately, all of the shallots. I'm going to cook these gently in that mixture. I'm almost hitting the 5 minutes mark here, and I'm left with a chicken butter. Yeah, shallots are cooked. Tastes good though. Alright, and now for the big splash, the vinegar. Wow, that's a lot of it. So high heat, we need to reduce this by half. Alright, the reduction is done, half, and I think, you know what we're coming down to here? It's almost like a beurre blanc. So I'm going to turn my heat off totally because the rest of the sauce is meant to be done with just fresh butter. So the whole idea is to add pieces of butter in there and kind of monter la sauce. It's called raising the sauce. So usually you just, swirl the pan, but I'm going to just do this with a spoon. And that is going to be the final touch. So you have to absolutely do this with the heat off. Okay, and it's a bit like a beurre blanc. You can see, you can make almost, it's not like an emulsion, we're not using a whisk, but I can see, you see the color? And it's thickening. And it's always the same with sauces. Huh? At the end, that everything takes shape. So what I'm getting here is some kind of, not a beurre blanc, but like a red butter, almost a red vinegar butter. So I'm gonna keep on going, and that's gonna be it. Then we can use that over the chicken. Look at that, I think I'm done. Totally transformed, you see, look how thick that is. We have a sauce. Let me try it out. A little trying spoon here. It's gonna be sharp. Well, actually, it was super sharp before. But now it's still, yeah, you get the vinegar, but the butter, no, it works. Huh? I'm gonna add a little bit of pepper in there, tiny bit of salt, and that's gonna be it. A bit of pepper. And I'm going to take my chicken out, and now we just need to coat that lovely butter vinegary sauce over the piece of chicken, and that's about it. Now, just before serving, if you want as a final touch, remember we've got a chicken in that tray and there's some juice. You can dilute your butter in here, or your vinegar sauce, with a little bit of the chicken juice. So it's adding a little butter, you get a bit more sauce, and it will tone down the vinegar. Okay, but you don't put the heat on, otherwise it's going to destroy everything. Okay, so here we are. This is the Paul Bocuse chicken in vinegar sauce, the very rudimentary version. And let me tell you, it is not for the faint-hearted, and I might modify the recipe at the end, but I still want to try it like this. The concept of the sauce works really well. As you can see, you got a nice color. It's nice and thick. It's not some kind of watery vinegar floating around. And it is just a few ingredients. So I'm just going to try the combination of the sauce with the chicken and see. No, definitely the chicken helps. When you taste the sauce on its own, it's a bit overpowering. But to be honest here, with the chicken, it actually works pretty well. It is still very sharp though. So I think it's a great recipe. The idea is there. The measurement for me, we need to be slightly altered, because I think for the mere mortal, if you're not Paul Bocuse, Some vinegar is going to be good, but I think this is a little bit on the strong side. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to modify slightly for you the element, I mean, a bit less vinegar, and I think the ideas and what you need to keep in mind, the concept of what Paul Bocuse is doing here is exactly like a beurre blanc. So you've got your chicken, it's cooked, you got the juices, you got the butter, you got the shallots, you add some vinegar, you reduce, and I would ideally let the vinegar really reduce until it's almost gone, and then use the butter to really make the sauce and finish it off with the leftover cooking juices from the chicken, and that's going to give you a nice balance. But that's it for this interesting video. This was just the first one from Paul Bocuse, and remember, we're going to keep on going and exploring to see what kind of recipe we can dig out of this. So I will leave you with this picture on the screen. Remember, this is the Paul Bocuse style chicken in vinegar sauce that you can try at home anytime you want. Okay, I'll see you all next week. Take care all. Bye-bye.